name is Ariel from the Children of Karma, and today we'll discuss Sun and Venus aspects. The Sun is our life force, our purpose, our reason for being, and it's also attached to our identity, our career. Our father even can be described by the Sun. If we look at the elements and the sign that the Sun is in, we'll see more of what the Sun is looking for in this lifetime. And if it's attached to Venus, that means it's looking for beauty and harmony, relationships, getting along with other people. It wants community, intimacy within these bonds. It also wants art and creativity. It wants love and peace, creating a peaceful environment, a beautiful environment, one that's harmonious, even visually harmonious, and to gather community around. And so this means that your Sun will be tied to Venus-like things. You want to build relationships, build community, champion for the feminine energy, the feminine, the right-brained energy, the champion for the creative element of life. The Sun, the father, being tied to Venus shows that he has some Venus qualities. Maybe he likes to build relationships. He likes to be friendly and get along with people and go out, to party. Maybe he likes to spend money. Maybe he likes the comforts of life. Maybe he enjoys the comforts of life. Maybe he enjoys beauty and arts and creativity. Maybe he's a creative person. Venus can be seen in the fashion industry, in music, in photography. It's all forms of art, of visual beauty. And it can be that the father, the aspect that you have between these planets will show kind of how you received that energy, whether it was something that was harmful. Maybe he had an issue with the feminine energy within and he couldn't express it. Maybe he had a problem expressing that right-brained energy, that free thinker, the creative thinker, creative mind. Maybe he was unable to express that right brain energy. And in this world, it is becoming more robotic as well. It's more left-brained, analytical, focused, structured. Maybe there was difficulty there, and so he blocked you from expressing it as well, or you felt that there was some tension. Sometimes when we're expressing that energy and someone else can't, it creates that tension amongst the two of you. And you may feel like, okay, something is wrong with me, or they have a problem with me, when really it's their own problem showing itself. They want to also radiate the feminine and they probably can't. So it becomes difficult to watch someone else be free and express that as well. So it could be that, the father could have blocked that, but it influences how you give and receive love. So it could be that you're copying those patterns of his, about how he was able to express that love to you. Maybe you take some of those lessons and you repeat them, for better or for worse. With this aspect, your purpose is tied to visual beauty, visual arts, or building relationships, building harmony, unity amongst people, bringing value to the feminine. You're bringing value to the aesthetics, the aesthetic beauty. There's something about the aesthetics. It needs to be elevated, because there's something about looking at something beautiful, listening to something beautiful, having a beautiful environment. It creates peace and it's pleasing to the eye. Let's think about it scientifically. It's pleasing to the eye, which is pleasing for the body. And what kind of hormones are we generating when our body is pleased? And how does that impact the rest of our system? These little touches, they have value and they're not seen as so valuable because they're seen as superficial. And I think when we bring meaning to the mundane, the little things carrying the meaning, when we realize the meaning of color, for example, the yellows and how it can uplift certain energies, the mixtures of certain colors and how it can upset the eye. It upsets the eye and it creates this tension from within. And it's, who knew that those little things could impact us in such a way? Venus also tied to music. Music can impact us in many ways. I've used music throughout my entire recovery from 9 surgeries. I mean, it was just an instinct, I guess, to just flood out the pain with sound, with music. This is how I lift myself through music. This is how I move through music. This is how I heal through music. Sound and the transition of certain sounds and how it can connect to the emotions within and how it can move those emotions to a different place. And how Venus is also tied to dance, movement of the body and circulation of the blood. Saturn is exalted in the home of Venus, so showing that it's consistency. Consistency is needed. Feminine energy consistently. Showing yourself that, you know what, like after the surgeries, like after the 9 surgeries, and just the whole body was just destroyed. It's like you feel subhuman, and so in those moments, just to continue to show yourself love. Those little touches, it takes time, it takes effort, and sometimes, when you're dealing with injury, you definitely don't want to spend the time and the energy, and everything takes so much more. But when you do show it to yourself, it's that little bit of effort, it shows that person within, that one that exists within, that inner self. It shows you that actually, even though I'm damaged, I still care. I still love. And in fact, I love you more now than I ever did before. You kind of have to fight these things with more Venus, with more love. And eventually with time, you see the transformation. You see that it helps. Sometimes even going through something long-term, you just need something to get you through to the next day, to a better moment. And those little touches, remind yourself, and remind others too, that you're still here and you're still in the fights and you still care about yourself. This aspect is carrying that torch for the feminine. And even with the masculine, even with men who have this aspect, I expect you to also carry the torch for the feminine, because you have it within. You have that creative spark, you have that free thinker, the intuitive, the feminine within, the art, the beauty, the love, the laughter. You have that. And so I expect you to fight for it, because there's people who created this system to kind of strip us of that feminine, that creative. They value that feminine. They value the creative, right-brained. They care about philosophy. They think about the structure within terms of mythology as well. They value the feminine, but I think they would rather strip it from us and keep it for themselves. And this aspect will be, the sun is exalted in Aries, the protector, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. It's like, for the love of humanity, we fight for the feminine. Goethe talks about having to raise that energy, raising the feminine energy. We have to value it. It has to become something more than something superficial. We have to see that it already has meaning, it already has an impact on us. I think we're just minimizing it. We're not realizing how much of an impact it does play. There are many people who are very knowledgeable in fact, there are many people who are knowledgeable who don't receive any kind of credit or anything, you know, any visibility, no, nothing for what they do. And it could even be because of the aesthetics. The aesthetics play such a big role. I mean, think about the videos that you select. Are you selecting ones that are pleasing to the eye? Of course you are. You know, things that jump out at you. And what about the person saying the thing? You know, what do you think about them? You know, like what judgments come up when you first see them? These things play a big part in how we move and how we make decisions. And if we were aware of them, then we can play more of a role in this. We have more agency, more ability to choose which direction we go in. That, oh wow, I'm influenced by you know, that particular thing. Those words unlock something within me. You know, that color, that sound, it unlocks something within me that you know, can make me happy or make me upset. It's recognizing what those things are. What are the rules for aesthetics, for beauty? What are the rules? Find them out, and then use them. And if we think about it, all of royalty, for example, how they have their paintings and the color choice in these paintings, you know, these were intentional choices because even they didn't snap a photo, they're standing there being painted. So every choice is intentional and it has meaning. And red shows, you know, that they had power, that they had authority, courage. It's interesting, even the Germans, they were black, you know, they're structured, tailored, you know, no nonsense around here. Everything was intentional and it showed something. Even the objects that they had in the back of the painting, you know, sometimes they had globes, you know, the world, and they would rest their hand on top, you know, showing, you know, I've got the world in my hands, or I'm in power, I'm in control of the world. These little aesthetic choices, these choices have meaning, and this aspect is something that this aspect will definitely explore things like that and explore the meaning of these little things and bring value to them, raise the value. This is the only way that we can save the feminine anyways. We raise her. We have to balance it out, you know, balance out Mars with the little Venus. They're opposing planets, but we need both. We need both of them. And sometimes we need the Mars energy. Maybe the Mars energy within can desire, that its desire can fight for the feminine. Thank you for joining me for this video. And I'd love to see you at thechildrenofkarma.com. Thank you. Don't forget to like the video. Bye.